Hello students, Jim Webb here, ITSC 1325. Let's build a motherboard. What we're looking at right now is a Ryzen motherboard, a Ryzen chip in an MSI motherboard. You see it clearly there. And what we're going to be doing is, first we're going to be putting the heat sink and fan on top. Now I've had to take off a lot of thermal paste. Generally you want thermal paste. However, if you're building and rebuilding computers, it tends to oxidize. Instead of becoming a conductant, it becomes an insulator. So I am putting the fan on, which I'll have you do. Then I'm going to screw it down. And remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey. I screw it down, get one end good, go and make sure the other one's lined up, screw it in, then I will go get the other two. Now this is important for a couple of reasons. One, it will protect the thing physically, and then two, it's going to give you protection from electrostatic discharge. So the microprocessor's now got a huge chunk of metal over it. Okay, when the computer's running, this huge chunk of metal, which is aluminum, will help pull the heat off of it. The fan then blows the heat elsewhere. This is my cables for the fan. I will plug it in, and it's got 4 wires, and I make sure I do this. The fan itself is so key because the microprocessor burn your fingers after about 15 seconds. Hurts. Okay, and almost in. Yep, eyesight's getting to be a problem. Okay, so I have the microprocessor, the heatsink, and the fan. The next thing I'm going to do is put in my RAM. Now I have a 16 gigabyte DDR4 RAM module. I like this. What makes this one? Ballistics, good brand. Now, the actual socket, I believe I go in the second socket instead of the first, which is right here. And the key thing here is it's not so it'll only go in one way. So I'm attempting to make sure it goes in the right way. And during the final exam, you should hear this. If I do it, it means you forgot, and that's going to be some points. Alright, so now I have microprocessor, I've got RAM, and now I'm going to put in the hard drive. Now this is the darndest thing. This is the hard drive. Take a look at the size of this. It's minor. What I do is I put it into a socket, and I'll send you a picture, it's a little hard to see, and it simply mounts in here at about a 45-degree angle, goes straight in, then it goes down to the motherboard. Now this is what's really odd. It screws in at kind of an angle. Don't be afraid. I push it down and I put the screw in. Now when I'm putting the screws in, this isn't like putting in a jar of mayonnaise, a lid on it. I want it to come off easily. So now I've got hard drive, I've got RAM, I've got a microprocessor. Oh, I basically have built a computer. Other things that will make it work really nice are, number one, power. Now I'm going to connect the 2 power couplings. One of them is a 24 pin, which goes right here in the front. And all the power supplies generally have a configuration where you have a 20/24 pin power cable. The 4 pins will pop off, but it's a pain to get them back on. I've inserted it, it's down. Then, now this is key, most people forget this one on the final exam. This one has to be plugged in right here in the upper part of the motherboard. And there's 8 slots. So I push it and it comes in. There we go. All right, so I've made my electrical connections. I have made hard drive, RAM, and I have onboard stuff. Now let's take a look at that. In this motherboard, I have a USB sockets for for keyboard and mouse. Then I have optical ports for VGA, DVI, and here is my HDMI, and I'm going to connect that to my monitor. Okay? So I'm coming over here. I will plug this in correctly the first time. There we go. Alright, now all that remains is connecting my power, which I will do right now. And here's my power supply. And this is nice. This is a modular power supply. You're going to learn to love that later. So I'm connected to the monitor. I have everything ready to go. And if things go well, I can short this. Now what I'm doing is, the book sometimes calls for a key. Since our keys are all high-tech now, I'm going to use a screwdriver. And I basically go to the front panel pins, and I know that if I push this one and this one, oh, this needs to be on. And now I push my pins, and I'll show these to you in class. And there we go. And it just takes a second. It's kind of an on-off switch. And now everything's connected. So I basically have built a computer here in just a few seconds. And with any luck, my monitor will change color as it wakes up. See what it does. Okay, and I will see my BIOS for the first time. Okay. Anyway, what I'll have to do then is get my BIOS and change some things. But the only thing moving on this computer is the fan for both the CPU cooler and the power supply. Now, earlier I had used a VGA card, and I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull this out of here, maybe the hang up, and I'm going to get my VGA card. And now I have to move the motherboard out just a little bit. I will insert this to the PCIe 16X slot, which I just did. And now I'm going to insert my cable. And now, if there's any justice, going to sleep, I should be able to get this to come up. Alright, so I'm going to kick it off one time. Everything goes to sleep. And now when I jump it, I now see that I have the fan on the video card, CPU, and the power supply. Now let's see if I'm getting a connection here. I'm hoping I will. And in just a second, it should give me that. There we go. The screen comes up, and it should give me an error message initially because I haven't set my BIOS up yet. And a few more seconds, it should be here. There we go. So, it's telling me everything's ready to go. Now, when I actually start the computer for the first time to load software, I'll put in, of course, the optical drive. All right, that'll get us started.